Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. So yes, this is my top 10 movies of the 90s. So thanks again from Angelo from the Wacky World of Pang. I will put his channel up here. So he's always kind of adamant. I really like these movies. I think, it's good to kind of realistically set out stuff that you want at certain times in your life. It's also good of this of being like YouTube. I can look back at this video 5-10 years time and will my decisions be the same? Will my choices be the same? So anyway, so it is the top 10 movies of the 90s. A lot of people have picked them, have gone for it, blah, 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 blah. As you may know, Angelo did do me a top 10 movies of the 2000s. So I did it a little differently than a lot of other people from what I saw. Essentially, I went through 25 years, obviously not counting this current year, took the best movie or my favorite movie of each year and then basically chose the 10 out of those 25, and that's how I ranked it. This, I wanted to do something similar but different. So obviously you have to choose a top 10, and obviously the 1990s had 10 years, 1990, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. So it was simple enough for me to go, right, I'm going to section this by year. But not only am I going to section this by year, I did it a kind of a different way. Rather than go in, 1990, what was my favorite movie of 1990? What I have actually gone by, and I thought this was quite clever, who knows, it could be wrong, is essentially I went for most watched. So I will do a prime example. I have to get my list down just to make sure. So when I was writing this down, obviously there are, as you go into the later years, specifically it will go with 1998. So a lot of people had put a mention down Rush Hour. I love Rush Hour. And essentially what I've done is I've gone through each year and picked out my kind of favorite movies that I really, really enjoy. But then what I've done is, say for 1998, and I'll put this, Rush Hour was up there and I had another one. So I had two movies. I'm like, well, how do I distinguish which one? Essentially, which one have I watched the most times? That is what I'm doing it. And this is kind of, it's kind of the longevity angle is what I'm doing of this, of which, like, you can say, I'm going to pick two random movies. Say like you have Face Off and you have Jurassic Park, the first one. Great movies. Say if they were released in the same year, and I can go, oh, well, I really, really, I think Jurassic Park is the best movie, of that year. It's great. But I go, well, I've seen Jurassic Park 3 times, but I've watched Face Off 8 times. Like, well, surely the fact that I've watched this more and watched this more over the span of my life. So obviously a lot of these movies that I will show now, I have watched in recent years, have watched in like the past 10 years and have watched like 20 and 30. So this is what I'm getting at. The fact I've watched them from then to now consistently quite a few times shows me that I really, really enjoy that movie. Whether then I keep going at that pace and rewatch them again and then they get boring, which I know is a discussion that has been out there. If you watch something too much, does it lose it? But that is where it is. So to kind of not hide it, this is essentially my pile there. So I'm not giving anything away yet. So I've chosen that. I'm not going to put them in a number 1, number 2, number 3 order or number 10, 9. Essentially, I'm just going to do it by year. Start 1990, go up to 1990, and that's my 10. There is no favorite. I probably could, if I wanted to arrange it. There is my favorite movie and other stuff in there. So yes, they could sit, but I'm not going to do that for this video. So first off, we're going to have 1990. So what is my favorite film of 1990 that I've watched probably the most time? One of the films that I've probably watched the most out of any movie I have, and it is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Absolutely adore this movie. Obviously, this plays into so many things that are homage to me. Obviously, first, I'm a big animated fan. Obviously, I grew up with the Turtles. This then has practical effects. It has puppetry. Obviously, a big fan of like Sesame Street and stuff like that growing up. And Elmer, and obviously he plays Splinters, not Splinters in the Cage, but yeah. So Kevin Clash, he actually does the voice and the workings of Splinter in the first movie. And I just think this is a great story, and I could watch this over and over and over again. I have a lot of toys from this line. It's one of the only toy lines where I have multiple figures from a line of the same figure, because I try to stay away from that. So that is 1990. So 1991, a movie that probably not a lot of people would put on their top 10 list of the 90s. Maybe they would if they were doing it my way, but it is The Rocketeer. I found 1991 was a bit of a hard year. That there were a lot of movies that I haven't watched a lot. Now, this Rocketeer I've watched, I would say 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5. A lot of the other movies I've only ever watched once or twice. So this sits here. I liked the old age setting. It's kind of superhero type. I like the little does that and falls out the sky and stuff like this. And I thought it was a great film for its time. I say I still enjoy now. It kind of reminds me of like The Shadow and stuff like this. But yeah, so that is my 1991 movie. 1992. So I sat there and it was like, there was quite a few, again, movies. This was another year. It's quite an interesting one, but one stood out. It's one I've watched, and unfortunately it's kind of a seasonal one as well. So it's The Muppets Christmas Carol. So I've watched this probably at least 8 dozen times, if not more. Again, this would sit up with the Turtles, a movie that I've probably watched the most in my lifetime of the 40 odd years I've been on this planet. Yes, it's a Christmas movie, so whether it should sit in this list, obviously it's Christmas Carol, it's been done to death and things, but I still don't think for a 1992 movie, nothing beats this version in my eyes. So we go to 1993, a movie that I actually watched recently with my wife around Christmas time, even though it's not a Christmas movie, but I associate it with Christmas because it's one that is on all the time. Obviously, kind of pays homage to an actor that unfortunately is no longer with us and hasn't been for a while, and it is Mrs. Doubtfire. So 1993, I want to say. Yeah, 1993 is Mrs. Doubtfire. Again, probably watched it at least 6 times, if not more. It's been on TV. I probably watched sections of it when it's been on TV multiple times as well. There's a lot of scenes I could tell you all about and stuff like this. I always like the beginning of it, prepare. I won't go and say what he said, but the Porky Pig bit. But it is a great, heartwarming story. As I say, it's nice to remember Robin Williams, and in a way, as I've got older, to know what he was going through, but to still produce movies of this quality is great. So 1994, anybody who's a fan on this channel who knows my content will know exactly what one it is. My favourite movie of all time. This doesn't necessarily say it's my favourite movie, this one, but yeah, it is The Crow. Great film, great adaptation. Unfortunately, around a very Brandon Lee, James O'Barr, all the stories that culminate in this is very, very sad, but created a great movie that unfortunately hasn't really been touched. I am currently, as we're speaking, watching a TV series that I actually am really enjoying. Mark Dacascos does actually do a very good job when you kind of pay homage, and it's really cool and to watch some interviews to understand his thought process. So that's 1994. So we have 1995. A movie that the soundtrack would resonate probably with anyone who grew up in the 90s, and it is Mortal Kombat. So yes, obviously 15, 1995, I was not old enough to see this movie. I did go and see the second one and have a really silly story that I won't mention about that. But absolutely adore this movie. Again, I can quote a lot of lines. Probably the first kind of arcade fighter movie that was great. I know we had Street Fighter and stuff, but this kind of kept quite close to the game and kind of kept that tone, whereas I say Street Fighter was more kind of light, so to speak, with the Jean-Claude Van Damme posing. But yeah, so that is 1995. So 1996, a movie, Godspeed. If I say that, it's The Rock. Again, another great Sean Connery. So I know a lot of people love him from like James Bond and stuff like this, but I think it's this era of movies from the 90s, like Round This, Entrapment, even The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I really enjoy. Obviously, Sean Connery, obviously no longer with us now. Big fan of Nicolas Cage. And I think this, this was great. Yeah, Jerry Bruckheimer, just everything went well together to make the Rock movie, and is just a great one. He got stabbed himself in the heart with his needle. So what are we on? 94, 95, 96. So 97, a movie that I adored. As you can see, it is an anime movie, and it is Princess Mononoke. So I haven't seen this movie too many times. I'll probably say 3, 4, maybe even 5. But this is by far my favourite of rewatched from this era, especially because it's anime. and just not only have I probably watched it the most times out of everything that's out there, is absorbed the most from it as well. So, you know, taking so many of the details and only watching it a few times, I can remember loads of little details and being a big art fan and stuff. So, 98. This is when it started to get really hard. Obviously, I said we had Rush Hour. Rush Hour, I have seen a lot. Now, this movie, I had to put it by the final song in the movie that one character sings to another was actually the last song that me and my wife danced to at a wedding. So it's very special to me and all that. And it is Adam Sandler's The Wedding Singer. I'm a big Adam Sandler fan. This movie just hits all the notes. The fact they've made like a Broadway musical and stuff, but it was, just a great comedy story, really enjoyable to watch. I've seen it a lot of times. Again, this sits up there with just some of the movies that I've watched the most over my whole lifetime. Sure is that. And then we get to the final one, so 1999, and to show my custom metric, and it is Tarzan's. It is Disney's Tarzan. My favorite Disney movie of all time. Hands down, bar none, beats everyone. I don't care what you say. And then obviously just show that the little animation, the animation style of how they've done it. Massive fan of Phil Collins and Genesis, so the fact that he did the soundtrack for it and how great it was, really kind of hit all the right notes for me. And just absolutely, Son of Man and everything, and I know we've had rock versions and stuff. So a very probably different from other people's top 10 of the 90s. So there it is. Oh, that's probably upside down back to front. But that is kind of my top 10. I imagine it's very different from a lot of other people. I like the fact my lists are kind of different. As I say, because I based it on rewatches, I reckon 5-10 years time, some of those might change. But that is that. Thank you for coming along and watching the video. Thank you for Angelo for nominating me. And if you enjoy this content, please do check out some more. Otherwise, I've been Chris from Cypher Sigma Screen Time, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.